Bay Village, Ohio, quiet, safe, the kind of place where nothing bad ever happened. Tucked along the shores of Lake Erie, it was a picture of post-war American prosperity, where neighbors waved from manicured lawns and children played until dusk. But everything changed on July 4, 1954. That morning, a frantic call shattered the calm, piercing the illusion of safety that had defined the town for decades. The mayor, Spencer Houck, relayed a desperate message from his friend Dr. Sam Sheppard. Something terrible had happened at the Sheppard home, and help was needed immediately. Marilyn Sheppard, just 31, was found dead in her bed, victim of a brutal and violent attack that left the community reeling. The scene was chaotic, the violence shocking in its intensity. The Sheppards were a beloved family, well known and respected, and now their home was transformed overnight into a crime scene swarming with police and reporters. The question echoed through the streets: what happened inside that house? Was it a random act of violence, or did something darker lurk beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect family? The case had all the makings of a national obsession: a respected doctor, his beautiful wife, a shocking crime, and a mystery that seemed to grow deeper with every new headline. The story gripped America, dividing neighbors and strangers alike. Rumors swirled, friendships fractured, and the town's sense of unity began to unravel. Was Dr. Sam Sheppard a grieving husband, caught in a nightmare beyond his control, or a killer hiding in plain sight, deceiving everyone around him? The mystery would challenge the justice system, ignite a relentless media firestorm, and haunt the Sheppard family for generations to come. Marilyn's death wasn't just a personal tragedy, it became a symbol of the darkness that can lurk behind even the most idyllic suburban facades, shaking the community to its core. The question that started it all still lingers decades later: who killed Marilyn Sheppard? Was justice ever truly served? The answer would prove anything but simple, tangled in a web of evidence, suspicion, and doubt that would confound investigators and the public alike. The town's innocence was lost, replaced by suspicion, fear, and a lingering sense that no one truly knew their neighbors. The Sheppard case would become one of America's most enduring mysteries, inspiring books, movies, and endless debate. It forced the nation to confront uncomfortable truths about justice, the power of the media, and the secrets we keep hidden behind closed doors. And it all began with a single haunting scream in the night, a sound that would echo through Bay Village and through history forever. Marilyn Sheppard seemed to have it all: a loving husband, a young son, another child on the way, and a beautiful home in Bay Village. She and Sam were the golden couple, he, a respected surgeon, she, a devoted wife and mother, active in the community. Their life was the picture of 1950s prosperity and happiness. But beneath the surface, cracks began to show. Rumors swirled about Sam's affairs, whispers of marital tension. In the 1950s, such secrets were hidden to preserve the image of the perfect family. The investigation would seize on these rumors, challenging the illusion of suburban bliss. For many, the Sheppards embodied the American dream, until violence shattered that dream. Marilyn's tragic death became a symbol of lost innocence, a reminder that darkness can invade even the safest places. The illusion of security was gone, replaced by fear and suspicion. The Sheppard story became a cautionary tale for an entire generation. July 3, 1954, began like any other summer night in Bay Village, Ohio. The Sheppards, a respected family in the community, hosted friends for an evening of laughter and conversation. They watched a movie together, shared stories, and eventually said their goodnights as the hour grew late. According to Sam Sheppard, he settled onto the living room daybed, exhausted from the day's festivities. Marilyn, his wife, went upstairs to their bedroom, leaving Sam to drift off to sleep alone downstairs. In the stillness of the early morning hours, Sam claimed he was jolted awake by the piercing sound of his wife's scream echoing through the house. He rushed upstairs in a panic, only to be attacked from behind by what he described as a bushy-haired intruder. The assailant struck him, and Sam was knocked unconscious, unable to defend himself or help Marilyn. When Sam regained consciousness, he found a scene of unimaginable horror. Marilyn was dead, bludgeoned repeatedly in her own bed, her life brutally taken in the place she should have felt safest. Disoriented and desperate, Sam claimed he chased the intruder out of the house and down toward the Lake Erie beach. There, he said, another struggle ensued before he blacked out once more, collapsing on the sand. When police arrived, they were confronted by a scene of horror. Marilyn had been struck over 30 times, blood spattered the walls, the bed and the floor, a shocking display of violence that stunned even seasoned investigators. Yet, as officers searched the home, they noticed something strange. The rest of the house was oddly undisturbed. Drawers were pulled out, but nothing seemed truly stolen. It looked more like a staged burglary than a real one. Police quickly began to doubt Sam's story. His injuries were surprisingly minor, just a few bumps and bruises, especially when compared to the savage attack that killed Marilyn. Why, they wondered, would an intruder bypass Sam sleeping downstairs, only to attack him later? The sequence of events didn't add up. There was no sign of forced entry, and the sheer brutality of the crime suggested a personal motive. Investigators began to suspect that the killer was someone close to Marilyn, someone she trusted. Suspicion fell on Sam almost immediately. The media seized on the story, and whispers of guilt spread quickly through the town. The community was stunned. Neighbors who once admired the Sheppards now watched in disbelief as police swarmed the home and reporters gathered outside. The Sheppard home, once a symbol of safety and family, was now the center of a nightmare that no one could have imagined. The investigation that followed would become as controversial and sensational as the crime itself, drawing national attention and dividing public opinion. The question of what really happened that night would haunt Bay Village forever, leaving a legacy of suspicion, tragedy, and unanswered questions. Dr. Sam Sheppard, once a respected surgeon, quickly became the focus of suspicion. The media pounced, painting him as cold, arrogant, and uncooperative. Headlines screamed for his arrest, fueling public outrage. Stories of Sam's alleged affairs dominated the news, casting him as a man with a motive. The press shaped public opinion before charges were even filed. Neighbors turned away, the community wanted answers. Sam's refusal to take a lie detector test and his hiring of a top attorney were seen as signs of guilt. The pressure on police mounted, the public demanded justice. On July 30th, Sam was charged with Marilyn's murder. He insisted he was innocent, blaming a mysterious intruder. But the narrative was set, the wealthy doctor with a dark secret. The stage was set for a sensational trial. The Sheppard family's world had collapsed. The media's relentless coverage made a fair trial nearly impossible. Sam was no longer a grieving husband, he was the accused. The nation watched as the case spiraled into a spectacle. The 1954 trial was a media circus. Reporters crowded the courtroom, jurors' names were published, and the judge lost control. The prosecution's case was circumstantial, no murder weapon, no confession, just motive and suspicion. They argued Sam killed Marilyn to escape his marriage and pursue other women. The defense claimed the investigation was botched, the crime scene contaminated, and Sam's injuries real. But the media's narrative drowned out the defense. The jury found Sam Sheppard guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison. For some, it was justice. For others, a miscarriage of justice fueled by media frenzy. The trial raised questions about whether anyone could get a fair trial under such scrutiny. The case was closed, but doubts lingered. The Sheppard story was far from over. The verdict left the nation divided. The media's power over public opinion was undeniable. The search for truth had only just begun. The real story was still waiting to be told. Years passed slowly and heavily. Sam Sheppard sat in his prison cell, steadfastly insisting on his innocence to anyone who would listen. The world outside moved on, but for Sam, time seemed to stand still. He wrote letters, filed appeals, and clung to hope, even as the odds seemed insurmountable. Then, a new figure entered the story. F. Lee Bailey, a young, ambitious lawyer with a reputation for taking on impossible cases. Bailey was determined to overturn Sam's conviction, convinced that justice had not been served. Bailey argued passionately that the original trial was a sham, overrun by a relentless media circus where the judge failed to protect Sam's rights. The courtroom had become a stage, and the presumption of innocence was lost in the noise. In 1966, the Supreme Court agreed with Bailey's arguments, overturning the conviction and blasting the carnival atmosphere of the first trial. The justices declared that Sam had been denied a fair trial, and the nation took notice. Sam was freed after years behind bars, but his ordeal was not over. He now faced the daunting prospect of a retrial, with his reputation and future still hanging in the balance. This time Bailey's defense was stronger and more thorough. New forensic analysis of blood evidence suggested the killer would have been drenched in blood, far more than Sam ever was on the night of the murder. Even more compelling, a different blood type was found at the scene, one that matched neither Sam nor his wife Marilyn. This raised new doubts and cast suspicion elsewhere. The second jury listened carefully to the new evidence. After a decade in prison, Sam was finally found not guilty. He was exonerated, but the scars of his ordeal would never fully heal. Yet the mystery only deepened. If Sam was innocent, then who had committed the crime? The question haunted investigators and the public alike. Suspicion soon turned to Richard Eberling, a window washer with a troubling criminal past and a history of odd behavior. Eberling had worked at the Sheppard home and years later reportedly confessed to the murder, only to recant his statement. His involvement remained shrouded in uncertainty. Despite suspicions and circumstantial evidence, nothing concrete ever tied Eberling to the crime. There was never enough proof for a conviction, and the case against him faded. The case remained unsolved, the questions lingering in the air, and the truth just out of reach. The Sheppard saga had become a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the fragility of justice and the overwhelming power of the press to shape public opinion, and even the fate of a man's life. The case for Sam's guilt rested on motive and opportunity, an unhappy marriage, alleged affairs, and a suspicious alibi. The physical evidence seemed damning: blood on Sam's trousers, a staged robbery, and a watch found in the bushes. The media's portrayal made it hard for the jury to see anything else, but the case for innocence is just as strong. The first trial was unfair, the crime scene contaminated, and key evidence possibly lost. Modern forensics found blood from a third, unknown person at the scene. Richard Eberling, the window washer, became a plausible suspect. He knew the house and had Marilyn's ring. The truth remains elusive, with evidence supporting both sides. The Sheppard case is a mirror, reflecting our doubts about justice and truth. 70 years later, the Sheppard case remains unsolved, a labyrinth of conflicting evidence and fading memories. Was Sam Sheppard a killer, or a victim of a flawed system and media frenzy? The main players are gone, the evidence degraded, the truth obscured. The case exposes the vulnerabilities of the justice system and the power of public opinion. It inspired The Fugitive, cementing its place in American culture. For Marilyn, there is no closure. Her story ends in silence. We are left to wonder, was it a husband's rage or a stranger's violence? The question lingers, haunting the American dream.